Welcome back. Today, we are talking about the thoughts high EQ people often carry silently. Not in a superior way, not in a cold way, but in a deeply observant way. Because sometimes intelligence is not about speaking first. Sometimes it is about seeing patterns early, understanding people carefully, and choosing silence when words would only create noise. First, why they often see the outcome before everyone else is ready to accept it. Second, why they do not always correct people, even when they clearly see the mistake. Third, how they often hear the hidden fear, pride, insecurity, or need behind what someone says. Fourth, why surface-level talk can feel draining even when they are socially polite. Fifth, why the smartest people often become quieter as they grow wiser. One thing high IQ people often think but never say is, "I have seen this pattern before." They notice the repeated excuses, the tiny changes in tone, the decision that looks harmless today but will create a bigger problem later. To others, it may look like overthinking. To them, it is pattern recognition. For example, a late working professional may watch a team ignore one small process issue again and again. Nobody wants to discuss it because the project still looks fine. But the intelligent person quietly thinks, this will break later. And when it does, people call it sudden. But it was not sudden, it was visible. But here is the difficult part. Seeing a pattern does not mean people are ready to hear it. If someone has not noticed the signs yet, explaining too much can sound negative, dramatic, or arrogant. So high IQ people often wait, they observe, they collect more evidence, and sometimes they protect their peace by not announcing every conclusion. Another thought they rarely say is, correcting this person will not change anything. A highly intelligent person may notice the wrong assumption, the weak argument, or the missing detail, but they also understand that correction is not always communication. Sometimes it is just a way to start a fight nobody learns from. This is why they often ask themselves a quiet question. Will this help? Or will this only feed my ego? That question changes everything, because being right can feel satisfying for a moment, but if the other person becomes defensive, the result may be worse than silence. A founder, a parent, or a manager may know exactly what is going wrong, but if they speak at the wrong time, the message gets rejected. Intelligent people often learn that timing can matter more than accuracy. The goal is not to win the sentence. The goal is to create understanding. This is making you think of someone who stays quiet but notices everything. Stay with me. Because the real lesson is not just how intelligent people think. It is how to use that kind of thinking without becoming isolated, bitter, or misunderstood. High IQ people often think, this conversation is not really about what they are saying. Someone may sound logical, but underneath the logic there may be fear. Someone may sound confident, but underneath the confidence there may be insecurity. Someone may sound angry, but underneath the anger there may be disappointment. This is why they pay attention to what people defend too quickly, what they avoid answering, and what they repeat too often. Not to judge them, but to understand them. A person usually reveals more through their reactions than through their explanations. But they rarely say all this out loud because it can feel too exposing. Imagine telling someone, you are not angry, you are scared of losing control. Even if it is true, it may feel invasive. So intelligent people often hold back. They understand that insight without kindness can become a weapon. Another thing high IQ people often think but never say is, I can talk here, but I do not feel fully connected. They may smile, respond, and be polite. But if every conversation stays on status, gossip, surface opinions, or repeated complaints, something inside them starts to feel tired. This does not mean they want every conversation to become academic or serious. They may enjoy jokes, simple moments, and normal life. But they usually crave some depth. They want to ask why people behave the way they do, what choices mean, what really matters, and what nobody is saying. So they edit themselves, they simplify their thoughts, they avoid going too deep too quickly, and sometimes they leave a conversation thinking, I showed only 10% of what I was actually thinking. That is not arrogance, it is often adaptation. The final thought many high EQ people never say is, I may be smart, but I can still be wrong. This is where intelligence becomes wisdom. The more a person learns, the more they realize how many variables they cannot see, how many stories they do not know, and how easily the mind can fool itself. At a younger stage, intelligence often wants to prove itself. It wants to debate, correct, explain, and be recognized. But with maturity, many intelligent people become less interested in proving they are smart and more interested in understanding what is true. That is why the quietest person in the room is not always empty. Sometimes they are noticing more than they say, feeling more than they show, and choosing peace over performance. High intelligence is not just fast thinking. It is knowing when a thought deserves a voice, and when silence protects the value of that thought. So here is the pattern. High IQ people often notice patterns early. They know being right is not always useful. They hear the emotion behind the logic. They can feel lonely around shallow conversations. And the wisest ones become quieter, not because they are afraid to speak, but because they respect the weight of words. If this gave you a clearer way to understand yourself or someone in your life, subscribe for more psychology, motivation, and emotional intelligence videos. And in the comments, tell me this. Do you think intelligent people are naturally quiet, or do they become quiet after experience teaches them restraint? Thanks for watching. Remember, intelligence is powerful, but wisdom is knowing how gently to use it. I will see you in the next one.